Hello, everybody. This is Chris, just right at the top of the show. I know, it's really weird, but I think it's actually a better way of doing things, so you can just skip my stupid voice if you really want to just get to the podcast. Usually go in about 2 minutes from now on, and you'll get there. I'm not going to take that long, but just arguably it's going to be there. We're changing up a few things at the podcast. Few enough people listen, but it doesn't matter to me. I'm just letting you know. I'm gonna release everything on Mondays from now on, just for the sake of my sanity, because I have to edit a lot of stuff, and it's just when I want to start releasing things. We're gonna release it every Monday on SoundCloud and on YouTube for you guys to listen and watch. That is definitely unstable on SoundCloud and the Definitely Unstable channel on YouTube. You can find it there. You can check my Twitter at DefUnstable if you want updates on when it's coming out, the status of it. We're also just going to go to kind of a long-form talking kind of thing and more conversational because we felt like it got a little bit too newsy and we just wanted to have a conversation and have fun with it. So if it feels a little rambly, I'm sorry, but this is the conversations that Colin and I have always had, and we want to continue to have them and just talk about things we like. At the beginning of this, we are talking about a Smash Brothers, as we say, we talk about a Super Smash Brothers tournament. The link to it will be in the description below. It is the very first match of that, if you guys want to watch it. I think we have the timing on there if you want to watch it with us. I will put a link in the description for you guys. If anything else comes up like that that you want reference to, I'm going to look through and listen through and see if you find anything you want to hear, anything that's pertinent to you. Otherwise, stuff is going to start coming out on the channel. More stuff. I did release something recently called Voiceover Theory. I'm going to start doing more informational stuff and a few more gaming options with friends, and Colin may be included if he ever has the time for me. But that's all details. I will stop talking, I promise. Once again, please like, share, and subscribe. It would mean the world to us if we had a community and audience to talk to. We would really love that, and we would really love to play more games to talk about and have the time to do that. So give it a like, give it a share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. That would be great. Otherwise, let's just get to the show.
Second seed or the 15th seed or something along those. Oh, I'm sorry, they play the loser.
I feel like I
8-9.
should just start the podcast right now and put this video in here because fuck it. I'm gonna play it Nerdist style today. Fuck this.
Yo, let's do it.
Let's fucking play Nerdist style. Oh yeah, welcome to the Name Not Found podcast. We're in the middle of a conversation right now because we couldn't find the things to talk to, so we're just gonna do things and do shit. And so continue talking about. So can we just go back for reference? What is this about?
Yes.
One more time.
Hello, I'm Colin.
I'm Chris.
The person who just talked to you is Chris. Today, people who are listening, but mostly Chris, we're going to have a little education on the world of Super Smash Bros. Melee, but specifically a huge upset that happened this weekend. So, two players who are storied throughout Melee's history are Armada, who is from Sweden. He is from Gothenburg, Sweden, and Mango, who is from Norwalk, California, aka Southern California, are pretty much considered two of the best players to ever play the game. Now, recently, Armada has not dropped a set in the past 7 months. His last set he dropped was to Mango at the Big House 6.
Can you just explain to me really quick what is a set exactly? Is it just the whole match, or?
Question. Set is in a higher level of the bracket, so the further on you get in tournament, it is 5 games. So the winner of 3 games, so the best of 5, whoever wins 3 games first, will win the set. Now, if
tennis, kind of tennis rules, more or less.
Exactly. Actually, tennis is a great comparison. So in tennis, you have a single elimination bracket. Like, say, Roger Federer beats Nadal in the semifinals, Nadal is out. But
I don't know shit about tennis. That was just, I'm sorry. I gave an abstract thing that I barely knew about. I'm like, yeah, I knew that. I'm like, oh shit, Colin actually knows what tennis is.
I mean, those are the 2 most famous players, and they have been compared to these 2 players, which is, again, why we're doing this. So what we're doing right now, and Chris will probably link it, shout outs to VG Bootcamp. They streamed this. This was a tournament held in New Jersey in Atlantic City called Royal Flush. So it was held in the Tropicana. And what we're going to watch is the grand finals, game 1, just game 1 of Mango versus Armada. So previously in the bracket, we went through a ton of games. There was 500 entrants, and it all led up to the winner's semifinal match between Mango and Armada. Armada won 3-2. So what that means is Mango went to the losers bracket. So he had to play through 3 more matches, beating the players who had also lost in the losers bracket to reach grand finals. So the way it works is if you are on the winner's side of grand finals, you only need to win 1 set against that player. The losers person on loser side has to win 2 because they've already lost. So they need to beat the player who hasn't lost twice. So that's what happened this weekend. It was a huge upset, but it was all set in the tone by this first match. And so I sent you the link. It should say Royal Flush SSBM Alliance Armada, which is Peach versus C9 Mango Foxmarth. You ready?
Okay, from the beginning. Yeah.
Yep, we're just gonna go from the beginning on go. So I'm gonna go 3, 2, 1, go. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. So we're sitting here
watching. I'm keeping this
watching...
muted, by the way, just letting you know.
Yep, totally. I can explain it. So we're watching them doing like a really basic warm up. Basically, what is going to happen here is after they do their stage striking, they're going to go into the game. Now, the reason why this is so crazy is they're going to go to a stage that is traditionally super, super Peach favored. This is Dreamland. Yeah. Iconic music, the Kirby theme. The reason why it's Peach favorite is there's so much space Peach can live forever. And what you're seeing right now is just Mango is the fox, and he is just so fast. Like even me, who I know this game, and Chris, please tell me what you're seing. Like what are you even seeing right now?
I'm just seeing something that I clearly can't do, and also there's a point with fighting games where I go, what the fuck is happening right now? Like there's so much movement that I can't keep track of it. What's going on right now? Especially because I don't have sound right now, so I'm just watching these two characters in the void and do nothing.
So the void is an interesting way to put it. So the thing that is kind of crazy is, you see how the fox is shooting some lasers? That is something that Mango is notorious for not doing, and so he's decided, all right, I'm going to change my play style to use lasers. And they played many times before, going back and forth. But what's crazy about this set is Mango has had such a low streak. He has lost to players who are like in the top 10, some would say outside the top 10, and he is giving it to the player who is unequivocally the best in the world. And as you can see right there, he just did a lot of like unbelievably frame tight inputs. Just
Jesus
and if you watch how fast he's moving, even myself, like watch him move right now, like all of those are like look at this. It's just madness. And so watching this, I was I'm a pretty big fan of Mango. But after him losing in the winter semis match, I was like, oh, I don't know if he can do it. And even with all of that, it's a tie game. It's a tie game after 2 minutes. We're at 2 stocks apiece.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna see something crazy happen. So what's about to happen is you're gonna see every time Mango gets knocked off stage, Armada is notorious for finishing Edgard. Like every time like the Peach gets a hit, it's hard for any other player who plays this character to get a hit, but not for Mango. And so if you're watching along, one of the things you want to notice right here is every single time Mango gets knocked off stage, how often he dies. Like for instance, right there, he's only off stage twice, and he's dead. So you might be thinking to yourself, oh, okay, well, this looks over. This Peach is obviously going to just clean the rest of it up. But as is often said, you cannot sleep on Mango. He's just one of those kinds of players who...
He needs a t-shirt that says that.
Well, he has one. He literally, an aphorism after he won this big tournament, he said that there are 2 commandments in Melee. Number 1, thou shalt not sleep on the kid. Number 2, thou shalt not sleep on the kid. That's just him. He's just a crazy person. And see, here we go. We're even back up. And
wow. Jesus.
It's one of those things where okay, I can't even talk right now because this is what I've been trying to explain to people who don't understand the game, is how unbelievably technical and insane a party game.
Oh, I can see that. Like it's just unbelievable, and the fact that wow.
So even with all of that craziness, and I just ended it, Mango still lost. He would go on to lose the first game of each one of those sets and come back to win 3-2. So
Jesus.
So make here is that I'm shit at this game. I play competitively, but I'm blown away by the level that it can be taken to. And I just got like this was easily the most excited I've been by watching something in a really long time. But one of the coolest things about it, and one of the things I wanted to talk about because I think it's really pertinent, is why people watch games. Now, I'm not talking about playing games. You know, we can talk about, oh, okay, well, like a game is fun to play because of X, Y, and Z. It's a really engaging gameplay experience. It does like all of this really cool stuff. But, you know, Chris, in your opinion, why do people watch people play video games? We know they do it. The Let's Play industry is huge.
Yeah,
Twitch.
so let's narrow it down and we can piece it by piece because I think there are different answers for different parts. You know, so we have the Let's Plays, right? So normal Let's Plays, there are actually so many categories of Let's Plays, it's ridiculous. Because you have, you know, what I call Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, and PewDiePie, which is face cam, and usually solo plays a lot of horror games and a lot of funny, ridiculous stuff. And I don't view them as watching the game. That's a comedy show. Like, that is what that is.
Watching to watch PewDiePie. You would watch the PewDiePie show. You would watch the Markiplier show. You're not necessarily watching them play Five Nights or whatever they're playing.
Oh, yeah, and to be fair, Game Grumps, I love Game Grumps. Game Grumps is the same thing. It is improv partners playing a game. That is literally what it is. Those guys are, I think they are some of the best improv people I've ever seen because not only can they do good improv and define good improv, but I think it is good. Is that they can do that and then simultaneously play a game, which is, I think it's fantastic. But I wouldn't consider that like I'm watching the game because there are people who get frustrated at the game. I don't go to the Game Grumps to watch the game.
I don't think most people do. I think one of the best ways I've ever heard Game Grumps described, I really wish I could source this quote, but I can't, is it's sort of like if you watch an improv show, they get suggestions in the audience. They build their own scenes. And for the Grumps, it's the game. The game provides that like spark of like, oh shit, what the fuck just happened? Let me riff off of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And move off of that. So that is like sort of the juice that sort of keeps it going. If they're stuck in one place for a while, they'll riff on why they're stuck in this place for a while. Or, you know, it's just a catalyst for their improv. But it's not necessarily watching specifically to play the game, which I would argue is exactly what we just did. Is I like Mango, I like Armando, they're nice, but I'm watching the game, like the mind games, what's happening, like, you know, it's like watching a chess match. Like you could care less who's playing the game. You're worried about what's happening on the board or
like have you ever watched bowling on TV before?
So you know when you're really drunk? So like, okay, hold on. I'm going somewhere with this. I swear to God. Chris, confirm in fact that you understand what it's like to be really drunk.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I may or may not have been there. Whatever. It's
for
fine.
The majority of times, probably. Yes.
You know, whatever. So you drink, and you're like hanging out, you're whatever, and you like barely make it back to your house. You like get in the Uber, and you're like so done. You're just like, I can't even do it. You don't even make it to bed. You just get to the couch. Wherever you're at, you're just like on the couch. And for some reason, like, you know, maybe it's the parents or roommate is up and there's ESPN on because I was in a college house for a while. ESPN was just sort of like on the TV. Right. And most of my experience watching bowling was so hungover I could like physically was like moving is just like kind of you know and it's an option, but I don't really want to take it.
Well, here's the thing.
And bowling, you're just like, I guess people watch this. I'm not sure why. Like golf is beautiful.
Yeah. As
a hungover game because it's just like, and Colin is feeling pretty bad with his headache, but we're just gonna keep talking like this. And nice birdie.
Well, here's the thing. It's actually I can draw it with bowling, but I can also draw it with Do you know who the Penny Arcade guys are?
Yeah.
They do okay. So they do this thing. I don't remember. It was like their PAX East competition. Where they would actually have throughout all 3 days, they would have them play games and they would have finalists and you would get to the end of a thing, right?
Funny story about that. My friend Matt went to a PAX East and with his brother, they played Rocket League, the twos, the T2s, and they got second place in that. And they got second place in Keep Talking or It's Gonna Explode. What's that game called? That
Keep
VR
Talking
game?
and Nobody Explodes.
They
Yeah.
also got second in that. So they got second twice, and they were super salty about it. But they did that. They actually were
Well,
involved
yeah.
in that.
So the cool thing about it is they end up going to the final day, and they have a huge event for like the people that score the highest. I don't know how exactly it works, but so they got to the end, and you're expecting a game, right? So one of the first times they did it, I think it was the first or second time they did it, the final was a claw machine. It was just a claw machine, and it was you had this many tries to get a thing out of the claw machine, right?
My God,
And
that's
if
my
you
worst nightmare.
yeah, but
As
if
a
it yeah,
gamer, going into like such a pure RNG situation as a claw machine,
but
where it's like the only time anyone's gonna ever watch you, you get to fuck up a claw
but
machine.
that's what I would draw to this Super Smash thing. So what I'm saying is that okay, in your mind, okay, I know you're a fan of it, but move from the situation. Just watching a game, right? In general, watching and not playing is inherently a little boring, okay? Just like because I am a fan of it, I have watched it and I do enjoy it. But here's the thing is like just watching that like with no sound or no anything and not knowing stakes, it's just kind of like, okay, what's going on?
So,
But
so for instance, you watching Smash. So, if I'm getting the analogy right, and correct me if I'm wrong, you watching Smash is like watching the claw machine. But like, let's say I'm watching when I watch Smash, I see like, oh, maybe he's moving the claw in this one way or
yes and
another.
no,
Like,
but here's the thing that actually gets the end of the claw machine is that you would think it was boring, right? But when you would watch it, this funny thing would happen. You'd think it was the most boring thing. Every single time the claw went down to grab it, everyone was holding their goddamn breath. They were on the edge
they
of
knew
their
the
fucking
stakes.
seat.
They
They
knew
knew
the
the
stakes.
stakes. With that fighting game, I think, here's the thing, it's not just about Smash, right? There's this great technicality, and that adds layers. What adds to it is you have, what is it, 4 or 5 stock? 5 stock? Yes?
4 stock.
4 stock. So you have 4 stock plus timer. You have time, which is constantly moving. You have 4 lives. Fast paced, and then you add the fast movement. Stakes upon stakes upon stakes upon stakes, right? So it keeps moving up, and this sense of motivation inherently, if there was no stock, if there was no timer, if it was just like, if I can do it, it's boring.
Even if they were playing the exact same way, hitting each other, but with no timer and no stocks, you're exactly right. There would be just them playing friendlies. And like I've done that before. I've sat down and watched people play with no stakes, and it's not the same.
It's not the same.
And I think
you can chill and watch that, but it doesn't get you as energized. It doesn't
no,
get
no.
you near.
And I think to take it another level deeper, when you let's say, Chris, you
I'll
knew
play
the
the
guy.
Inception horn right here, by the way.
One level deeper. No, let's say you knew the guy playing the claw machine.
Right.
And you were like, oh man, like I really want John to win this prize. And then on top of that, wow, you've played that same claw machine. You're like, this claw machine has fucked me up so many times. I want to see it lose. And so it's like the same thing with games. It's like not only do you have the inherent stakes of the stocks or the time, I have the stakes of I know the history of this player and I know the history of this player. And it would be a huge thing for the scene or the community or the PAX event we're at if they were to win or lose. And so like that adds the tension, the drama, the viewership experience, which is why somebody would watch something like that.
Yeah.
But I think you.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I think you hit on a very interesting point, though, is that inherently it seems to be a huge disconnect, and you see it all the time when folks talk about sports and you talk about like you want to put in big quotes esports, and like my opinion on this is kind of from a a weird perspective because I'm very into like the esports scene and I follow it a lot.
Mhm.
But I feel like it's a huge disconnect as people understand because they have more connection to a physical exertion. So even if they have no idea what the fuck is happening in a tennis match, like they have no idea how to hit a tennis ball, they have no idea how to hit a racket, they see a person, they're like, wow, that person is doing things. They are moving their arms and their legs in a way that, like, as a human, for the most part, and in the most cases I can understand. But when you have that extra layer of removal, when you have like a person, like almost like a puppeteer, I mean, almost actually exactly like a puppeteer using their avatar, like whatever game you want to talk about, whether it's Counter-Strike or Dota or League, some of the biggest games, it becomes harder for people to connect or to empathize with that if they haven't played the game. But sports, I think, because it's a physical exertion, like even if you've never tackled someone, you can kind of wrap your head around a tackle.
No, because here's the thing. Like in football, you don't have to play football to know that fucking hurts. Okay? You don't have to know, like, you hear that smack of the pads, and look, I played football long-ass time, and trust me, it does hurt, okay? But the thing with it is that you hear that smack and that audible crunch. Like, what I'll say is, it doesn't take a genius to wince when you see a boxer get punched in the face.
Exactly.
But here's the funny thing, and why you come up from an area of you're kind of an esports guy, okay? Like in your circles, you like your Smash, you like in what you like.
Fighting games, like sort of like, sure. And two of my good friends play RTSs. Those are like my circles that I run in.
In my way, I always believe I disagree when people say it's like, well, esports isn't a sport. I'm like, well, I disagree in a way because, and I totally get what you're saying because they have this connect with a physical assertion, but I think people miss the point of, take boxing, for example. That game, boxing in general, people think it's all just about throwing punches. It's 75% your brain. It is literally you being able to break down an opponent, follow and track his movements. It is all up in your head. And there are so many sports that are into your mind, and I think gaming is just literally the opposite. It's low physicality, 100% mind. Okay?
Right.
And it's, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of memorization and pathways and
dexterous movement, the whole shebang.
But it's training your brain. And I mean, chess was an Olympic sport. Okay, let's point that out. But I mean, I think it was, it isn't anymore.
I think it was, but I also find it to be sort of like a moot point when people say, "Oh, chess is a sport, therefore these things are a sport." I'm of the mind, as somebody who's also like yourself, played sports and done physical sports. Yeah, sports ball. We have balls and ovals, and we hit things, and we like to engage in roughhousing and
see
manly things.
See okay, as a personal side to anybody, we like to play sports and all that stuff. Colin was way more of the finesse guy. 100%. He'd play basketball and soccer. My job was I hit things. I was real good at hitting things, like good at hitting things.
Yeah, Chris was really good at hitting things. The joke would always be, because Chris was a unbelievable defensive lineman, and I played track and I ran. So our joke is that if I could get out of his arm reach, I was good. I was golden. Like, Chris was never fucking catching me. He had bad fucking knees.
I got one fucking hand.
Yeah, but one hand in, I was done. I was done. I didn't have any upper body strength. I had no grappling technique. I had no CQC, bringing in the Metal Gear reference. Like, I was done. Yeah, I'm like that. I'm like that character that has like pretty good speed, but has like 45 HP. So like they take a hit, and you're like, oh.
You're the caster. You're the caster, man. Like you've got
I'm rogue.
Yeah, rogue. Yeah.
I can't cast. That's David. David Stern casts spells on the computer, and we're like, oh my god, we have Netflix.
And I'm not even the fighter with the armor. I'm the freaking barbarian, man. Like, I've got a lot of health. I don't wear a lot of clothes, which is a problem. And then just carry around a giant hammer and shout a lot. That's what I do.
I mean, it's effective.
It's effective. I need to replace my loincloth, but that's different day. But I think actually the funny thing is it actually plays into us and what we became, because you're rather good at fighting games, dude. My hands are just like bricks. Like, they're just like are. And here's the thing, like, I'm a bass player. I've practiced my whole life. I've toured national band and all this stuff, and I can play it really well. My hands cannot properly hold a pencil, and it's literally just like, I don't have that. I'm made for breaking.
To be fair, you have big fucking hands, dude. Like, you have really big. No. Hold on. For those of you who have never met Chris, and for those of you, I mean, the -1 people listening, because I'm basically talking to myself, but that's okay. Yeah. It's fine. Everything's fine. Chris is. My dad would joke. I remember when we were younger. He's like, "Yep, I remember when Chris was younger, and he was kind of a little awkward. He would like move around. He wouldn't be able to like coordinate too well." But he looked like a puppy, and I was like, "What puppy?" I mean, Chris was, a normal-looking dude, but I wouldn't characterize him as cute. He's like, "No. When you see a puppy with big-ass fucking paws, you get scared because eventually the puppy's gonna grow into the paws, and then you have a fucking problem.
Well,
And I was like,
well, the
oh, that
problem,
makes so much
the
sense.
problem was is I was like 5'4" in like 6th grade, and I had size 11.5 feet with the same size hands, and so I was just this walking. And then the problem was is then all of a sudden I grew up. I remember one summer I grew 8 inches. I think you remember that. I grew up,
Yep.
and then I had no muscle mass. I just had legs, and I was a gangly mess. Just like I had no balance, and we got completely off games. But it was just funny because the funny thing is I also think it to redirect, right?
Right.
Everyone has their own, sense of relation towards games, right? And there are some people who don't at all, but I
Yeah.
think
There are some people who have very little connection at all. They see it as sort of like they're just these nerds sitting in a basement doing this thing, which when you like really look at it objectively, and I've like done this a lot, I'm like, you know what? I can understand that. Like there are definitely, professions and, activities where I look at it and I go, I have a very hard time empathizing or like putting myself in the shoes of that activity. So it's not so much that I can't understand why that is, but it's like once you make that leap where it's like, oh, okay, this player is the embodiment of this character. Like they are in full control of everything they're doing, and then like look at what's happening. Like then sort of like it's like a great fiction book, like novel. Like Harry Potter, when you really think about it, it's like, yeah, all right, well, magic isn't real, so like, why should I care? It's like, well, yeah, but like, accept the conceit.
Yeah.
Accept the conceit. This person is just controlling this thing, or this thing is just happening, or this world, even though it's 2D and on a big old screen or projector, is just accept it as the premise. Like, if you can accept that premise, I feel like more people would like connect with esports and connect with people games at that way.
I also feel like in some ways, though, I think I don't know if you agree with this. I think sometimes gamers do themselves like almost counteract
totally.
that. Like,
totally.
Because they like to pretend. Like sometimes, don't get me wrong. I think it's cool. I think it's great that some of these people can do this as a job. It's cool, but get over yourself, man. First of all, second of all, the people that are Uber fans, the fact of that you are. Some of them, and I've seen it before, like, you wouldn't get it. I'm like, then I don't give a shit. Like, I just don't. Like, to be fair, it's not this exclusive club. If the same thing with football, if it's like, well, you wouldn't understand. If somebody told me you wouldn't understand the rules of football, I'm like, cool, then I'm not going to watch football, because if people like you play football, then I don't want to deal with you.
Well, that's the reason why people played games in the first place. They're like, well, I don't want to deal with these dumbass jocks. I'm going to go sit in my corner and play D&D. Or like do whatever is the count thing.
I did both. I played D&D and I was captain of the football team. I'm weird.
Very odd, as we've seen it from both perspectives, as we've like played like on both sides of the ball, so to speak. But what I find very funny is I think at gamers and people who are in sort of this, I won't call it internet culture, because the internet has become so all-encompassing that I think that it's become more than gamers, like, and more than where like very, very hardcore nerds come to congregate with the advent of
it's become a society full of its own subcultures, pretty much.
Right. And they find their own personal subcultures. But I think that like gaming in particular is a very like it was a defense mechanism. It's escapism. Like when you really think about it, it's like, I'm not me. I am this avatar of me. I mean, you see that all the time in people getting married in World of Warcraft, or like really identifying with a character so much that they make fan fiction, or like, different other forms of media. And so I think a lot of the like holier than thou, like I'm the best, or like you can't understand, is a deflection. It's basically saying, we have our club, we're safe in our club. Like, I don't want anybody else who could hurt me coming into our club.
Yeah.
And some communities are better about it than others, for sure. But Smash being one of them, because it's like, so it's like not considered esporty because everybody plays with their friends and they're like, oh, okay, it's pretty good. I'm very biased, by the way, so just putting that out there.
Well, to be fair, also the Smash community, just from an outsider's perspective, so unlike other fighting game communities, right? In most fighting games, it's 1v1, right? In Smash, it can be 1v1v1. up to 4 players, and that builds more of a sense of community, especially just the base game itself, rather than Street Fighter. It's just 2 guys fighting each other, which is a very, very competitive. Smash it can be competitive. Don't get me wrong. That video proved it. But the thing that I would say about it is that Smash, at its core, is a fun time with friends that can then be taken to a whole nother level, rather than
it's exactly like and I mean football in the sense of soccer, or like something else. Like you can just like pick up and play. Like you can go down to the park with your friends right now, everyone listening, and play basketball. And it's like it can be competitive, or it can be kind of like, oh, whatever. Like you don't need to be at an NBA level to enjoy basketball. It's the same with most other games. I mean, even the most hardcore competitive games like Dota, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, the reason they're so successful is they encompass a wider range of the community, which is why I thought your point was so interesting about like exclusion. I think that's a really big problem with gamers in general. The idea like you didn't make you see this as a complaint by quote unquote diehard fans for like a sequel or like a new iteration of their favorite genre. It's like you didn't make it exactly the way I wanted it. And it's from the developer's perspective, their job is to bring as many new people into the game as possible without undercutting the values of what makes the game the game. Like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you can go too far. Sonic the fucking Hedgehog.
Well, to be fair, go ahead.
Sometimes you can do it exactly the right way in something like Gears 4. I really liked Gears 4. I got the chance to play it at a friend's place, and I was like, holy shit.
Oh, it was great.
Not only did they take like what was great about Gears 1 and 2 and 3, but they sort of like wrapped it all together in this really accessible package. Like I hadn't played Gears in years, and I just sort of picked up the game and was like, oh yeah, let's play some Horde mode. Like this sounds great. Yeah. And I mean, obviously there's a lot of better other examples. That was just the one that came to my head.
Well, but I agree with you. I think that on one hand, I think there's people, not what I wanted. Well, my first message to anyone is that I hate to break it to you, but a developer owes you nothing. Okay, so that is a fact, regardless. Oh well,
in last episode,
yeah,
like their company, they're there to make money. If you don't like what their practices are, here's a thought: don't fucking buy their product. Like that is your option. That is your right as a consumer. You don't need to buy their shit.
Now, the same is true when a dev, doesn't understand. I've seen it. Devs don't understand why it didn't do very well, and I'm like, well, look at your fucking game. Okay. Second of all, or when say our sales are down, I'm like, yeah, you did that. That's terrible. Like I just as a side note, I've been looking at the new Destiny stuff that's coming out. I'm like, this is literally Destiny 1. That is literally what I'm looking at right now. But that I was just looking at gameplay, and it looked exactly like the first Destiny, and I'm like, wow, you just screwed over so many people. But
on spoiler alert, you can only transfer one item from Destiny 1 into Destiny 2, and that is like the biggest slap in the face to your most dedicated fans that I've ever heard in my entire life. In an MMO type game, only being able to transfer one item, like, oh my
Have they not? Did they not take a thing out of fucking World of Warcraft's book where you just pay for like $40 expansions over and over, and then you could say it's Destiny 2.
It's the console model. You know what I mean? Like PCs have the ability to be much more malleable.
Well, that's why MMOs can't really work on a console because of those models. It's not that it can't exist because of a controller mechanism. It's literally because they're like, well, but we need to keep releasing because of this model. I'm like, no, fuck off. Do it however you want. But that's also a thing. Like when we get back to like the gamers in general, I don't like to use the word entitled because I think that word's thrown around way too much.
I really do, and I think it's thrown around in games way too much. When you look at the way people respond to other media, like television shows, like look at the way fans responded to Lost. If I want to show my age because I'm hip to what the kids are talking about, so I'm going to talk about
hip to those kids.
13-year-old show. But I mean, the same could be said for a lot of other,
How I Met Your Mother.
Oh God, I don't want to talk about that ending. First of all, hold on. No, you just opened the fucking hornet's nest. Because no, listen. Do you know the show?
Yes,
are you aware of the show?
I've seen it to completion. Spoiler alert, because we'll talk about it.
Spoilers. So you know that whole thing where it's like she's dead, blah 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 blah, whatever. you can still like have that as like sort of a backdrop, but I swear to God, they had the perfect way to end the show right in the last episode and they didn't use it. So instead of having, you know, afterwards like him getting back together with Robin and that whole like shitty fucking excuse for a fucking ending, when Tracy, his wife, is like, "Hey, let me take a picture of everyone at the bar." Instead of it being them when they're older, it should just snap the photo that they show with the credits, the with them all being young, like the young Marshall with the young,
Yeah.
you know, oh my God, Barney and the young Robin and the young, holy God, now
Barney.
I can't, yeah, young Barney,
Ted.
young Ted. Who is Allison Hannigan's character?
That's Lily.
That's Lily.
Yep.
Fucking Lily is the devil. But like, can you imagine like how perfect that like circuitous ending would be if it's like the entire time she was behind the camera the whole time?
Yeah.
Because like even though it's like obvious that they've like outgrown that picture, it's not about the picture in terms of it being accurate. It's like that is the way they saw themselves in the story that he just told about how he met his mother. Or how he met. Wow. Oh boy. How he met the kid's mother. Also, how did he grow up to sound like Ted Danson? Just throwing it out there.
It's Bob Saget, actually. It's Bob Saget.
Thank you, Mr. Voice Saget. It's Ted Danson. You know shit.
Yeah,
shit. You fucking
Surely. Give me another whiskey. No.
Sorry, tangent over. I apologize. No. Sorry.
No, there's no, seriously though. But here's the thing: we have, but the point I'd make, even off of that, we have these complaints, but at the end of the day, that's their story. As much as we'll complain about it, it's one of these things of like, look, that it's their story, and that's what they chose to do with it. It's
wow,
fine.
I just ran into the stereotype, didn't I?
No, not really.
This way.
Well, you can say they should have.
For 8 seasons of amazing content,
but
and I can shit on them for that. It's
but
like,
here's the thing, though, is you can say they should have done it this way, right? And you can say that, and you can even say it in a public place. But there's a difference between saying, I think it should have gone this way, or the going on to Twitter, going on to social media, going anywhere else, they messed this up and it's ruined because they did this, that type of stuff. There's a difference between having an intellectual conversation about, and that's the problem that I think that, I hate to say it this way, because I've met a lot of gamers. I love a lot of the gamers that I meet, but I'd say that it is the vocal minority, which is overused, but at the same time, there's this very vocal minority of gamers who are still our age, but have not grown out of the adolescence they used for escapism, and they keep that adolescence. And I meet them at I go to conventions for my job. I meet them all over the place. It's just like, you are my age, and what? Like, just like because I'm sitting there, I'm like, you are giving me flashbacks to literally me at 15. You are 28, 29, and it doesn't matter what you do with your life. You could be playing games. You could do whatever you do, whatever makes you happy. That's fine. It's the attitude that you bring to it, right? And I think that there is this vocal group that decides that they want to live in Never Neverland and not change opinions. And I think this goes with internet culture in general, I guess. But
yeah. I think it comes from having a lack of avenues to have substantive conversation, because when you have a face-to-face conversation, you have to, in real time, sit with what you say. And what I mean by that is you have to hold accountability. I mean, we all know the internet. It's all about anonymity. Yep. Half the shit that you hear, if not 90% of the shit that you hear, would never fly or would never be said by the person typing it in the real world, because they would have to live with the consequences.
That was actually the subject of my final thesis.
Well, it's one of my favorite arguments is whenever I hear an argument like, yeah, well, I can say that because of free speech. I'm like, well, you kind of just undercut your whole argument, because the entirety of what you just said means that, yeah, literally the only argument against what you're saying is that you can't be arrested for it.
And here's the funny thing,
that's it. That's the only argument.
Here's the funny thing. There are even addendums to free speech that are in the Constitution that have certain quotas, okay? You cannot threaten people. That is illegal. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Threatening people in a way that they can prove that there's actual malice, you can't say that shit. Like,
Yeah, and let's talk about Jim Sterling. Like the fact that he went out and gave Breath of the Wild a like he gave it a low arbitrary number in a score, like a game score. Which, first of all, guess what? It's his fucking right. Second of all, he got death threats for it because of all the
yeah.
crazy Zelda fans like myself who like just didn't agree with him. You know, I read his review and I was like, you know what? I disagree with you. I really enjoyed this game. I really liked it. But at the same point, like, I'm not going to send him a fucking death threat. And it's what you were telling about before. It's like when you're younger and when you don't have that, like, knowledge of, okay, I can like the things that I like, but it's not the personal definition of me. Like,
Right.
I exist outside of World of Warcraft. I exist outside of Super Smash Brothers. I exist outside of The Legend of Zelda. But for some folks, and the vocal minority, like you said, that's not the case. Like, that is their identity. Like, they don't have the connections and the people, and that comes from, unfortunately, the stigma that, you know, a lot of proto nerds had to deal with of, you know, if you were a nerd back then, that was it. Like,
That
you
was it.
were sort of ostracized, and you know, that was, you know, we were lucky to come up in a time where that was just starting to change. I mean, when we first started playing games, both of us, it was sort of that thing, like we would play them and it was sort of a thing that people did, but you wouldn't talk about it so much. You'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, I played this game. You wouldn't be like, oh my god, I can't wait to fucking play Sonic when I get home. Even though that's exactly what we were thinking. You know, I can't wait to play Sonic the fucking Hedgehog.
Right.
Yeah, that just wasn't a thing you said. Nowadays, everybody fucking does that. So it's like it's becoming easier and easier, and that's sort of the irony is as it's becoming easier and easier, you're seeing more and more pushback because people are afraid of bringing others into their comfort zone. You
Right.
know, they're like, you know, safe area where they've hidden away from, you know, as somebody who, you know, wasn't with a lot of the norms, they don't want to bring people into that. I mean, let's talk about Comic-Con. How
Oh
we even said,
God.
we said it. Like I remember we had this exact problem, and we sort of talked about it because we realized we were doing it. There's 150,000 people at Comic-Con when Chris and I went. This wasn't even, you know, last year. This is 2012,
Yeah.
and even Chris and I were like, God damn, like all these fucking like nerds who are fake and like don't
Yeah.
even know shit and da 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 da. And then afterwards, we were drinking in the hotel room. And we said like, damn, that's kind of a shitty way to look at people, isn't it? Like,
And then we went back and actually started looking at things differently and met people that were actually kind of cool. But you know,
exactly.
and
But that was our first response. Like literally, our first response is fucking. What did we call the booth babes? Nerd bait, because they
yeah.
would just be staring at us.
And we were fucking awful. And I honestly, in my mind, the fact that I had that opinion makes me cringe a little bit. Like
Yeah,
because
but
I
it's
met look, here's the thing. I go to those conventions, I meet those women who do things, I meet these cosplayers. They're wonderful people. Like
exactly. They're so cool.
they're so cool and nice. They make their own they're so awesome. And they're absolutely just the majority of them. I met a few of them that weren't especially nice. But
Little odd.
yeah,
Little odd.
yeah, but
Whatever.
you know, and you know, but they're just so nice. Like it's one of those things that they're these stereotypes. It actually goes into cosplay. We've talked about
It
this
goes
before.
into nerd culture. It goes
Oh
into
yeah,
people like us who
but
know about it. Even we are like, God, there are too many damn nerds here. Like,
well, yeah, and I like just such like nerds. No, that kind of. And my favorite thing is when I do that because every nerd looks at me like, oh my god, no, like because I look like a fucking football player. I always will,
Yep.
and it's just like, oh, flashbacks. And but the funny thing is it actually comes back to and pointing out that kind of vocal minority. It's kind of like because cosplayers are always a sore subject for me because especially now that I go to these conventions and I meet these people that do this for a living and they go this and look and this is not a comment on women. I don't. If you want to dress however you want to dress, feel free. Okay, it's your body. You do whatever the fuck you want. Okay, that is my honest to God opinion. You can quote me on that. And these women, they make these gorgeous costumes. Okay, they make these amazing costumes, and they have this. And look, it shows off skin. Whatever, that's their prerogative to do so. But these people treat them like fucking objects, or look at them as like, well, she must clearly be easy. And I'm like, fuck you. They're wonderful, nice people.
Well,
And,
what's really funny about that is that I think it's exacerbated by the fact that they viewed the character that they're, you know, embodying, that the cosplayer's embodying already as an object.
Right.
Because they see it as the person that they or the thing that they went to when they were lonely. Like they'll look at like a Sailor Scout, like when we went to Otakon. Like how many times did we see that? You know, like
I
across
did see
Otakon.
one that I did not want to see.
Well, yeah, I remember that one too, and we're not going to talk about it. That's totally fine. Asian guy with man tits. It's fine. No, I mean,
no.
hey,
Once again,
he's got cojones.
Listen,
I could
yeah.
never do that shit.
Once again, as much as we joke about it, if that's your thing, do it. Like because it's your choice, man.
Lean into it. But that's the thing that's very interesting to me is sort of the idea that I think it is exacerbated because it's not just about it's not that they don't just see them as, you know, people. It's that because they're embodying something that they're already objectifying because it's a, you know, it's a digital or like fantasy or, you know, imaginary thing, like something that somebody created, then when they see something embodied that, they're already going to be, you know, more inclined to treat them the way they already do. So like I'm not saying it's a pass, but I'm sort of saying that I think that's why it's so bad in cosplay culture and is actually like not quite as bad when it's just like a model. Right. It's like, well, the model at the end of the day is still just a human. Like Kate Upton, who, again, showing my age, I guess she was big, like, you know, back when I was in college or whatever. But like that's sort of a thing where people were, you know, they obviously like crazy obsessive, but I don't think the way like people stalk like, you know, cosplay idols, it's fucking bad.
Well, it's kind of like, you know who I met. I was at a convention. You know Jessica Negri? You know her?
Jessica Negri. Yeah, I know her.
And like, don't get me wrong. Like, by the way, absolutely stunningly gorgeous woman. Okay, just charmingly gorgeous, and also met her for like 5 minutes, and because she was like she was like getting ready for some stuff, and I was like, oh, I've seen some stuff really cool. Talked to her like 5 minutes. Nicest woman I've ever met. Like just absolutely sweet, and was talking to me about it's this, that, and all that other stuff, and it's one of those things is like, and don't get me wrong, she's a big woman, she can take care of herself, okay, she can do whatever she's, you know, do her thing, but it's kind of one of these things of like, you meet these people that people put all these like, you know, oh, she's this or that, I'm like, no, fuck off, they're nice people. And,
I mean, what else is new with the internet? People making assumptions, having zero information.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's like, and they go, oh well, she's not helping it by dressing the way she does. Who the fuck cares to dress? Who the fuck cares how she dresses? If she wants to dress how she wants to dress, she's a grown-ass woman. She can decide how to dress as she wants. And this all of a sudden became a feminism argument, but still. But it's still like the thing that I get to in the nerd culture is everyone tries to... I feel like one of the things I get in gamer culture is everyone tries to make excuses for their behavior. Okay.
Yes.
And,
oh my god.
And it's endless. It's like, well, they did this or that. No, you were a shithead. You were a shithead. Own up to being a shithead. Colin and I at San Diego Comic-Con that first day were shitheads. And
we're fucking shitheads.
We're still shitheads. Okay? Like, you know, it's just a thing. Like, one of the biggest philosophies of like, because and this goes deep into my personal life. I don't give a shit, and you know I've never given a shit. But it personally, I had a lot of problems with. I'm diagnosed bipolar manic. Okay, and
I had no idea.
Oh no, never.
There was never crazy like we would play Halo on Legendary, everything would be fine. The next minute, I was like, "Am I gonna be okay? Like, am I gonna be all right?"
Like, you know,
I know
Chris
that Elite just fucking naded Chris, but I mean, we're cool, right?
Yeah,
nope.
Yeah, right.
I messed up. It was done. It was over.
No. Well, there was, you know, it was an issue. It would come and go, and it wasn't like super erratic. It would just happen, you know, once in a blue moon. But one of the things you needed to learn is you needed to make fun of yourself, man. Like, you need to understand that you are ridiculous. Everything about what you do. Look, Colin, let's just take a second for what are we doing right now? Okay, I am sitting at my desk talking to nothing and looking at an audio file, talking to my cousin about bullshit, pretending to be professionals. Like,
yeah,
you know,
pretty much. We're pretending to have an audience. We're pretending to have people who listen to us. I mean, we've always sort of done this. This is the fun. The funniest part about this is the lack of practice we have, or rather, the expansive practice we have from doing this without any recording software on. Is like us just going off and playing out. That's the best part is we'd like play out to the audience that wasn't there. We'd be like, yeah.
and like no one would be in the room because we're playing Gears at 4 in the morning.
Here's the fun part is that Colin and I still, when we would hang out, we'd still do that. Be like, yeah, what do you think? Hey, and just be like, okay, back to whatever we're talking about. But no, I do think it's important to understand that though in the culture is that we take gamer culture takes itself way too fucking serious. Like, okay, and they make excuses for their stupid behavior when they're just being stupid. You know, and I guess that goes for most of life. And I'm ranting and raving like I normally do.
Well, I think okay, not to say it's less of that, but like when you look at from like the gamer sort of outset, it makes sense that that identity crisis would be a big issue. So like they have like I said gamers in general, people who play games and who have enthusiasm.
Could we use the royal we actually?
Yes,
the royal we.
Los. No, that's not Spanish. I please don't. Why are people listening to me? Like, why is no one listening to me? What's happening? Okay, small existential crisis. We're back. We're back.
Okay.
But the idea that as gamers we take a huge amount of ourselves and we sort of push it to the side. We say, okay, I'm going to put this over here. And we're going to invest my ego and my persona and my time and whatever it is into something else. So it would follow, and I think that this sort of plays into the argument you were saying before, it makes it that much harder to come to terms with your own issues. Because if you're playing a game for too long, it's because, spoiler alert, you don't want to deal with your own shit.
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter what game it is. It's like, well, I don't really have to deal with that because I'm dealing with this issue, this problem. And that's why games are so enticing. And I mean that not only for games, but like games in the broader sense, like your sports, your, you know, your board games, your, you know, individual, your sports, because you can sort of take all those personal issues and you can put them to the side because you're like, well, I'm dealing with beating this time.
Right.
I'm dealing with beating this boss. I'm dealing with that. So when it comes to checking yourself and saying, hey, why don't I take ownership of my actions? It's harder for folks, you know, of the gaming proclivity like ourselves. So that's sort of the way I look at it.
No, I think you're right. I think that in some aspects, the thing that I would say is that we have. I also think it goes back to the idea of it is a virtual character. So you're in this gaming world, already part of this virtual world, so you don't feel like you need to take ownership for what you do in a virtual world. And it goes back to that kind of theory. You know, you're in a virtual world. You're used to playing this character that's not real. And I think there's a subconscious disconnect, which there was this paper. I can't find it for the life of me. I keep trying to find my own paper. But
it's the Grand Theft Auto argument.
Yeah.
It's sort of the idea that it's like, well, let me exercise these fantasies that are pretty real and like would scare sort of outside. Like I think about GTA, I think about like, yeah, I remember when I shot up all these aliens in a town square because that was the mission. Like, and I was focused not on shooting up aliens in a town square, but I was like, God, I gotta beat this mission.
Beat that fucking level.
That idea of sort of that. Yeah, I mean, how many times have we said that? And then when you like really look back at like what you're doing, I think Undertale did a really good job of this. Is sort of like drawing attention to what are you doing in this game?
Yeah.
What are you really doing? And I'm like, well, I'm in a game, so I like kill shit, right? And the Undertale's like, no, maybe don't.
Yeah, maybe you don't have to.
I mean, I could hit you, punch you in the face. You know, I fucked up and killed Toriel. I'm gonna come clean right now. I killed Toriel first playthrough. I wanted to crit, okay, Chris? I saw the little bar and I played DDR and I wanted to crit, and then I killed Toriel and I was like, oh god, what did I do? Oh god, what did I do? What? Oh no, what did I do wrong? Oh no. So you know,
that game will make you cry. Like that.
Yeah.
It's full of sadness and just it's great. It's a great game. And it, I don't know. I think that it comes to, and actually we can tail this into just games. Actually, now that we've been talking, now for 50 minutes, by the way.
Whoa, we just go for 50 minutes.
50 minutes, yes. And I'll find a break somewhere. And we're coming to this, but we're gonna just get to a little bit of games thing. I actually think that there's a fun thing that you can talk about the psychology of everything is that there is this kind of, I'd say the only thing that's ownership that a game has or the developer has, right, is when you're telling a story, is to not make the user aware they're in the story, because that's exactly the opposite we want to do, but it's ask them important questions, right? Is to challenge them.
Yeah.
Because there are those games, look, Gears doesn't it challenges me in different ways, and Smash challenges me in its own way, right? By challenges me, I mean I can't play the fucking game. I'm fucking
but it
awful.
doesn't ask you.
I'm fucking terrible.
I'm just laughing at Chris. No, but I completely agree. Like Smash, outside of asking myself how I beat another player across from me, which is a totally Colin and other player thing, I have to ask myself the same question. The game itself doesn't ask you a lot of like really difficult questions. Like there are very few games. I'm trying to think like a question that I really struggled with. I think one of the big ones, I mean, obviously we just talked about Undertale, but I didn't struggle with it as much because after, my beginning of the game, I did Pacifist besides Toriel, which is, obviously doesn't do you any good. One of the major questions I think a game posed to me that I thought was very interesting was I played when you look at a game like Dragon Age Origins. I remember this like very specifically. Is you had actually no, scratch that. Mass Effect was probably even more the Krogan. So it was sort of the genophage question.
Oh, that thing, yeah.
Right.
Oh
and
man,
they,
that was
they,
tough.
they introduced it in 1, and unfortunately they don't make as good as it in 3. But I think just in general, the question is very interesting. Is the idea that do you condemn an entire species to extinction to prevent war? And the question is placed on your head. It's like, hey, we can do this right now. Like we can make sure that they never cause another provocative war again. It's in their blood. It's in their DNA. They will do it, but you have to kill all of them. Like you have to wipe out the race.
And then you have the argument of like, well, yeah, but what's the actual species capacity to change? Right? There's layers, and that's the question you ask yourself. It's not necessarily a will they or will they won't. I'm like, but does that mean they're destined forever? Or how it
benefits my character. You're literally not even thinking about how it's benefiting your character in the game. You're thinking about like the higher concept of that, and it's a weird thing.
But I mean, even simple games can ask you these questions, and I think that overall, and I am seeing this trend, especially even in more like simple games and stuff. They are starting to challenge concepts with people. Like, look. The new Call of Duty that's coming out, I thought the trailer looked awesome because it's pretty much almost a shot-for-shot remake of Saving Private Ryan. So yeah, that's
Call of Duty World War II. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that not the previous one, but I think the concept because and also Battlefield 1 did this amazing thing for me, and it didn't necessarily. I mean, it did in its story a little bit, but it posed the question of not even a question. This is what war is. It's not glorified. Like, it shouldn't be glorified. And yes, there's some people that miss the point, but it shouldn't be glorified. Like, this is hell. And yeah, they can try to pull it off, but if they capture that, that's the way it should be, because holy fuck, there are times when you first play Battlefield 1 or you play those games, you're like, holy shit, holy Jesus Christ. Like, you're stuff like that. Like, I think that's...
And I wish they had done honestly a little bit more with that in Battlefield 1, especially World War 1. Like, oh my god, like a great game that did that though, well, that's not nearly as big, is called Verdun.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen it.
It was sort of obviously based off the battle, but in every multiplayer game, not just single player, you don't play as the same. It's not like you are the invincible soldier who keeps reviving. It is every time you die, you take the place of someone else in a trench.
Yeah.
So it's like your person who you just played is gone. Guess what? You know how war goes. You're fucking dead. And so the idea being that like each individual experience each respawn is like a new thing, which I thought was really a strong choice, because without even posing the question to you, you're thinking about like, man, maybe I shouldn't charge in there. When in a game like, Call of Duty 4, you were like, well, yeah, I got to, because I'll get this kill and it'll up my kill score.
Yeah.
I think maybe what the point of your question before was like, what do games do to sort of make you look at the
Well, the whole
experience
point,
as a whole,
The whole point of all stories is partial social commentary on something, on an author's feeling about a individual's subject matter, or a morality or ethics, or a personal opinion. Okay, anything. I mean, a writer's war is hell. It's very basic, but that is a subject matter which they wish to broach. I mean, Harry Potter is throughout this whole thing. It gets pretty fucked up. Like, if you really read the Harry Potter stories, it gets pretty fucked up if you read into it. Like,
yep.
And like when you get
talking
to, like,
about a lot of fascism, same with Lord of the Rings. That was all that the Eye of Sauron was, and all of that, and it's what it's what good stories do, is they draw you in by making a commentary about something, even if it's very subtle.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not 100% linked to it, but it still adds this commentary. Like, I really want to get Prey right now. I've been debating on getting it, because it's this. I don't like horror games, but I like psychological horror games, like the kind of ones that mess with your brain, not jump scary, not all that stuff, or gruesome stuff. This stuff that's like, what the fuck is going on right now? I'm not terrified of the enemies. I'm terrified of what I'm going to find out. That kind of thing. Like that, Fear. Like, have you ever played Fear, the first Fear?
Oh, yeah, no, I remember that ladder scare. That ladder scare fucking freaked me the fuck out.
But that game was also so good, by the way, because it would have this moment of these intense fights, and then there's 4 minutes of nothing going down a hallway, and there was nothing there, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like... And
but you're looking around every corner. It's a classic trick of, if I show you something, you'll see it everywhere. Exactly. And it's sort of the old horror movie balancing act is you're afraid of the thing you can't see. But when you see something, then you expect to see it everywhere. So sort of like balancing those two truths and like trying to mess with it.
But if you see too much of it, it becomes boring, and then you get the movie Signs.
Right.
So
Or not only Signs, you get the game Amnesia. Like, the monster, they had to switch the monster up, because by the halfway, 3/4 point of Amnesia, you've been running away from the same monster the whole time, and you're just like, I just want to get around this monster so I can get to the next story beat. Like, exactly. I don't really care. I'm not scared anymore.
And that's the problem with the solo monsters kind of thing. It's like, you gotta vary it up. And that's why I like the psychological stuff. Not so much as like, oh, he's gonna kill you. And it's why I appreciated Resident Evil, the newest one, but I wouldn't play it because I personally am not a fan of the big gruesome, stuff like that. But I appreciated it because it messed with your brain about what the fuck is happening here. And I did watch the whole thing through. But
who'd you watch play through it?
I originally watched Markiplier do it because he was getting an early access copy, I think. And then I just started watching just regular gameplay, just somebody who's being like, we're gonna do a normal story run. Do it, no commentary, because I just wanted to once I got hooked onto the story, I went, okay. I did watch the whole playthrough with Markiplier eventually, but he ran around too much and tried to be funny for my taste when I was like, I just want to know what the fuck's going on right now.
That's why I like, and to bring it back to sort of Let's Players a little bit, is I watched the Scary Game Squad playthrough, and that was Jesse Cox, the completionist, and I think like 2 other YouTubers.
Oh yeah, I know them. Yeah, I know them individually. Yeah.
The Scary Game Squad, they're fucking amazing. Like, I was religiously watching their Resident Evil 7 videos just because it was like, there was like just enough like humor to cut the tension, but they were also like, oh fuck, man, I don't want to go in that basement. Like, I know there's tentacle monsters down there, and I'm like, go in the basement.
Do it.
Fight the tentacle monsters.
Amuse me for your entertainment. Right.
But the idea is like, and then, I mean, we don't need to go into it because it'll take us forever, but it's like, not only are you looking at the game for something you want, but it's like, what do I look for in the player of the game? Like, what do I want out of this gaming experience? And that becomes a whole other question. But
Oh, absolutely. And I think that in summary, I think that's a very like personal thing of comedic taste. Like people can like completely different comedians, right? And I think that especially with what we watch, I think there are some general norms that we can all get behind. For example, audio quality. Okay, yeah. Like and here's the thing: you're on your headset right now. Sounds fine. Okay, there's a few Skype bullshit, but that's Skype doing
Right.
Skype bullshit. But
right,
you ever see those guys on YouTube? We're gonna go play some Resident
it's,
Evil.
nothing takes you out of it because you can't like connect with the person at all.
Yeah.
And like I would never, if I was ever gonna do some form of content, I would just get a fucking mic. And it's not because it's like, oh, it has to be perfect. It's like, well,
No.
if I was gonna make something, I just want it to actually reflect
Oh, yeah.
my voice.
Oh yeah,
you know?
and piece of advice: anybody that's listening to this from a voice actor, okay, someone who does for like "fuck you phone," that is not my advice. But that is my advice.
That's
Go fuck
all
your
I got.
phone.
That's
Go
all.
fuck your
That's
phone.
all. That's all I got. It was your phone. What are you talking
No,
about?
that was my phone. It was my phone.
Oh,
I
go
know it was my
fuck
phone.
you phone. I thought you said
Fuck.
go fuck your phone. And I was like, wait a fucking second, sir.
Yeah.
My phone is not on. No. But like yeah.
The thing, as an actual voice actor, who, and just as a piece of advice, anybody who says I don't know what mic to get, okay, don't go out and get the stupid expensive things. The mic I use in my house, I can't remember the exact specifics off the top of my head, okay, but it cost me $300, okay, and I use it for professional studio recordings that I have to do in my apartment, okay. I have some soundproofing and stuff that cost me like maybe $100 total, okay, but all aside, you can probably get that shit for a decent one, $100. A decent one. Yeti, use the Yeti stuff. The Yeti stuff is great starter shit. But, and I'm just saying that because I'm sick and tired of what mic do you use? I'm like, just go get a Yeti microphone. And it's not necessarily about the microphone because once
all I heard from that is ask you a million times what mic you get and spend $1,000 on a microphone.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
That's the only piece of information I got.
Because clearly spending more money on a microphone actually makes it sound better when you don't know how to actually set up a microphone. Like
it means I'm gonna be a popular YouTubes, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because if you, I don't know how to balance audio well or anything like that. I cannot tell you because of what I do and everything that I'm a part of. Like bad audio because it's not that hard. Look, the audio you might be listening to may not be crystal, okay, but that's not even what I'm talking about. It's just like levels. Don't overmodulate your shit, okay? That's it, and you don't have to worry about it. And also, don't. What was the thing? You ever see those people that sound like lifeless, that utterly and terribly? Hey, we're gonna
play Minecraft because that's the game.
Even when they sound excited, they're like whoa, and I'm like, what is happening right now? I'm actually scared that this is your actual excitement, because if it's your actual excitement, I am actually afraid right now.
It's like that race in Mass Effect played Let's Plays. What's that race?
I don't remember.
The
Quarry? No, it wasn't Quarry.
Bemused Excitement.
Bemused Excitement.
No, it was the Bemused Excitement. Hello, Shepard. What were they called?
What race?
They weren't the Engi. That's from TL.
Emotion before they speak. Elcor.
That's a Elcor.
Elcor.
Ugh, God damn it. We're gonna have to suck so hard.
Well, with that, we've actually been going for about an hour and 5 minutes.
Damn it. Speaking of sequels that didn't get it right.
Yeah. What? Which sequels? Mass Effect?
No, we went for an hour and 5? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we went for an hour and 5, and
that's a lot of...
It's a lot of stuff, but before, and it's also like, what is it, almost like 1 o'clock where you're at right now? It's more than that, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking we leave this to ponder and discuss, and on the next episode of the podcast, we discuss, if any questions, queries come up. If not, no. Okay, here's what we'll do right now. Pinky swear with the -1 viewers. Chris and I will each play, not to completion, but we'll try out a new game. I will put it into my schedule.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that we have something more to talk about. I actually knew my fucking Switch right now. It's called Has Been Heroes that I really want to try out. So
all right,
I'm gonna try out that game. What about you? What are you thinking of playing?
There's a new game that came out. I just bought it actually. It's called Endless Space 2. It's a 4X space strategy game, and then I'm also probably gonna try to. I'm gonna look for a new RPG. I'm not sure yet, but I'm gonna look for something because I feel like playing something. Not so intense. I might actually get Prey. Actually, I might actually get Prey. So we'll see. So
okay.
I might have
Either
two
one of
games.
those sounds great.
So
Nice.
So we will try to play a new game, and then and then we'll have to come back.
Do or do not. There is no try.
I'm not gonna do that. No, I'm not. I don't want to. Everyone always asks me, "Can you do Yoda?" I'm like, no, I can do it, but it's not good. No, fucking frig.
Not through Yoda, can I?
But as always, this has been the Name Not Found podcast. My name is Chris.
And my name is Colin.
And as always, we don't know what the fuck we're talking about.